Hello, my name is Dr. Jeff Kim, and I'm the author of the first Korean American Ethnic Studies course in the United States of America, coming out of the Anaheim Union High School District. It's a great course. It's a year-long course that also meets the Ethnic Studies requirement by the State of California. It meets the G requirement of the A through G requirements of the UCs, and it's also an honors course. So recently, a question was asked for me regarding the connection between our Korean American Studies course and college admissions. And this doesn't surprise me because there's so much interest in the Korean American community, but I think many communities about college. And so I thought I'd share the intersection between Korean American Studies, my course, and college admissions. And I thought the way that I do that is by going through the Common App questions for 2023 to 2024. What I'm not going to be discussing is test prep or GPA and things like that. When I talk to the Korean American community, they're very familiar and so good at that already. What I am going to focus on are the things that sometimes is not discussed as much, including the questions in the Common App questions. And oftentimes in schools, we don't talk about this enough as well to support our students in their preparation. Sometimes it's about completing the classes, which is like really important and good. But at the same time, sometimes these college applications are a little bit complex. And for those of you educators supporting your students work through some of these questions, big congratulations and kudos to you because I know that not only are you helping students with college admissions, I think a lot of these questions I actually like them because they help address issues like identity and purpose and self-worth. So there's some benefit there for the student themselves, and then also it's helpful with the college applications as well. Well, let's take a look at the first question. The first question is asking some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. So once again, they're asking about their story, right? And so in our Korean American Studies course, we encourage students to know their story, to be able to tell their story, listen to one another's stories with empathy and respect, and do something good with their story. It's all about these stories of resilience that come from their own heritage, background, experiences, and sometimes we're able to talk about this very quickly, but oftentimes we need to really like dig in deep because many of these stories have not been unearthed. They've not been talked about. And so the Korean American Studies course that I teach includes an ethnography where students really go in deep and get to know themselves, get to know their families, get to know their heritage, get to know their cultural strengths. They're tremendously culturally blessed, but then talking about it in a culturally honoring way, I think that's something that we need to get better and better at. So yeah, I would encourage all educators to uh, give students the opportunity to know their story and to be able to tell their story, whether they're Korean American or not Korean American. I think this is a great activity for all young people as they're asking the question, who am I? As they're really thinking about what they've been purposed for in their life. The second question is asking the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? So, oftentimes, I think for many Korean Americans, stereotyping a little bit, but for many Korean Americans, they struggle with talking about failure because I think many in a shame-based culture, it's not easy to talk about something that was a setback. Rather, what's focused on are the achievements, like winning this award or this achievements. And not to say that we shouldn't talk about our achievements, but sometimes there's something to be talked about in the challenge itself. And Korean Americans, I'm so proud of my Korean history, my Korean American history, because they have a tremendous story of resilience that I can be so proud of, obstacle after obstacle, just overcome. And we could just look back in the past 100 years, and as I think about even Korea as an emerging nation, um, being colonized between 1910 to 1945, or the Korean War between 1950 to 1953, or the migration experience for most Korean Americans post 1965. All these experiences, in some ways, have a lot of pain attached to it, and understandably so. But at the same time, side by side, next to that pain is also some pride. pride of overcoming, pride of not giving up, pride of resilience. And there are so many stories of resilience that can be found, whether it's from their grandparents who maybe survived through colonization or the Korean War, or after the aftermath of that, to the migration experience in the United States. Maybe they won't sound like achievements in some ways, but they are stories of resilience. And it's overcoming these kinds of challenges that allow a person to also overcome challenges in the future. Number three, reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. What prompted your thinking? What was the outcome? Now, I can see this question being very hard for Asian Americans in general because, we've heard the phrase in the United States, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So the person who's able to kind of challenge an idea is the one that gets the benefit, right? But that's not the way a lot of Asian people think, people from Asia. Sometimes there's this collectivistic mentality where the nail that stands out is the one that gets hammered down. So, this challenging of beliefs, even among our young people, raising their hands in class, I'm glad to see that many more young people are starting to raise their hands and challenge ideas, and in a thoughtful, civil manner, of course, right, in a compassionate way, but sharing their thoughts and beliefs as well. And that's wonderful to see. I know I've had that chance to challenge ideas in this Korean American Studies course because some people might ask the question like, well, why Korean American Studies? Why would we teach a course like that? Well, then that's a challenge, right? So then we can respond to that challenge in a beautiful way by saying the Korean American story is a great American story for Korean Americans and all Americans. And in order for the tree to grow tall, you have to know your roots. And I want this for Korean Americans and all Americans because we live in one of the most culturally blessed nations of the world. And this is a way that we could be culturally honoring because I care about where we live in our community and our country, right? Do you see that there's that challenge, but then there's the overcoming of the challenge by a thoughtful response? But it takes some thought to think about it. And so in this Korean American Studies course, we spend a lot of time thinking about a lot of different issues and then learning how to talk about it in a civil and thoughtful manner. Question number four, reflect on something someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you? Um, Now, for if you were in my Korean American Studies course, many of my students will say one of the most special moments in this class was attending a Stories of Resilience dedication night. See, the students had created these ethnographies, these hard copies of their story, which also included their family story, and then they presented it to their parents and dedicated it to their parents, thanking them for their migration story and their story of resilience. And the students were moved, the parents were moved, the community was moved, because oftentimes families have not been thanked for their story of resilience, for their migration story. All that sacrifice in the community. Sometimes we don't know how to say thank you, or we haven't said thank you, or maybe all that sacrifice was not noticed uh, or understood completely by young people. But giving them a chance to think about that a little bit and then show that gratitude is so powerful. It could be there for their family, but it could be for other members as well, other members of the community. Question number five, discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. So in this Korean American Studies course, once again, I think a part of telling the story is going to different spaces, whether it be conferences or applying for grants, or this year we had a chance to receive uh, an opportunity to work with Invent to Prevent, which was sponsored by the Department of Homeland Security. And once again, these are all opportunities to be proud and to share about the accomplishments and the achievements and what we learn through those activities and through those experiences. So having those moments is very important. So if a person just said, "Oh, I just took AP World History and got an A in that class," yeah, that's good. That's good too, but that doesn't really tell a story, right? So sometimes when you're able to like actually do something with your knowledge, there's an actual event or conference or civic action, or they did something with what they're passionate about, or they volunteered in some way. That could be very powerful, and I don't see that sometimes in the Korean American community. At least, actually, I do see that, but I think it's harder to talk about it in that kind of way for some. And I want to encourage young people to really be able to be able to tell their story. Let's see. Question number 6. Describe a topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? Who, what, or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? And so, once again, this Korean American Studies course, being the first in the United States, it's a very interesting topic because even the admissions officers, this would be a topic that they might not be too familiar with as well. And so, when they see students passionate about this topic, and even students that are not Korean American, and they have this interest, that is actually a powerful story as well. Once again, there are so many interesting stories that are out there in the African American community or the Hispanic Latino community, but bringing up the amazing and very interesting stories in the Korean American community can be very powerful. And we've expressed that in this class in so many ways, not just through essays, but also through podcasts and through ethnographies and through oral histories and other kinds of video content. Share an essay topic. That's number 7. Share an essay topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. I don't know. So from this Korean American Studies course, if I were to ask students, like, which activity helped you to really grow the most or was the most meaningful for you, this could be another topic that they talk about in their college admissions essay as well, and what they did, how they grew in their soft skills, which include communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, compassion, how they connected to the community, how they understood another community better, how they did something in their community, made a difference in some kind of way, how they coordinated an event. Doesn't this tell a story as well? So think about if you're the college admissions officer, and yes, you have the GPA and you might have some test scores, things like that. And some places they're not even looking at certain test scores, right? But anyways, let's just say they're there. What they're looking at is also all these other experiences outside of just that GPA. And so that's what this Korean American Studies course, I really encourage our students. Yes, I think grades are important. You should really work hard there. But also, I think it's very important for students to know their story, know who they are, um, tell their story. So in doing so, I think that creates a lot of agency. They say that when you use your voice and speak it out, sometimes that's not only just saying what you think, but also it creates a sense of agency, this feeling like you can do something about what you're thinking, right? You could do something about the situation. Then also listening to the stories of others. So everyone's story is different, and this creates some empathy between people and between groups. I think listening is a very compassionate act, and we don't do that enough. But I think if we did that, that would create more peace, more harmony in our communities, in our country, and then doing something good with our story. So a lot of people want to do something, but let's do something good, something compassionate, something kind. That makes a difference as well. So I like these Common App questions for many reasons, and I'm glad they're being used for the admissions process. Because I think it's not just about, oh, let's get this application done, but it could be a way for young people to think about their purpose, passion, and vision in their life. I would recommend not starting this like the day before it's due, because these are very like reflective questions, right? So that's why I would recommend like a Korean American Studies class or a class very early on, so that young people have a chance to kind of marinate and think deeply over the years about themselves, about what they value, their interests, their stories. And so that when it's time, and I hope my activities and projects and things also align to this, so that but when it's time to apply, they've already thought very deeply about it. They have a lot of content they could share or talk about, and that's setting up our students for success. Now, once again, this doesn't have to happen in a Korean American Studies class. I am doing it in my Korean American Studies class because these are things that I think would help students, but I would have also done a lot of these activities in my world history class as well. So whatever class that is being taught, it's possible to integrate some of these things in that's going to help them for their future. I hope this helps make that connection between Korean American Studies and college admissions.